We're very fortunate in Interpol World TV to be able to have two people for this interview. We've got Adam Welsh and Romeo Durscher from DJI. Now, rather than me introduce them, I'll let them introduce themselves to the audience. Adam.
Yeah, so I lead the policy efforts for DJI in the Asia Pacific, which means I meet with regulators and talk about how to integrate drones into the airspace safely.
And I'm the Director of Public Safety Integration at DJI, and in my position I really work closely with public safety entities from fire, law enforcement, search and rescue to really understand the needs and the challenges that they face in their workflows and how our technology can help improve their workflows.
Now, you're one of the leading Chinese manufacturers in the globe with the products that you produce. You're both working in regulatory intergovernment areas. Certain governments in the world have put restrictions or there are reported restrictions on the use of DJI products in government applications. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, there are some agencies that have sought more information about where data flows. And there are also others that have put restrictions on purchase, but they've also put in place waiver programs to enable the use of the product even when those restrictions are in place. So our products are still being used by many of these agencies. If you think about it, effectively what they're looking at is an adoption of what is a consumer off-the-shelf product for the most part, and they want to make sure that the right protocols are in place for the safe use and to ensure there's no data leakage. If we really want to talk about where data goes, effectively, if you're operating outside of China and you opt in to share your data, it will all go to American servers. So first you have to opt in to share your flight logs, you have to opt in to share any video. Otherwise we don't take any of it. But if you do opt in, it all basically resides on servers in the US.
So if it's the servers in the US, that means under the US Patriot Act, the US government has complete access to it if you're a non-US citizen.
So effectively what we do is we give people the ability not to opt in. So if you don't want to share your data, you don't have to share the data with us. We also have local data mode, which means you won't be transmitting anything over the internet. And we've had all of this verified through an audit system. So we went to an outside audit firm called Kivu, and they looked at our source code and they bought our product off the shelf. We didn't give them the product, and they did a complete teardown to verify that the data is secure with the user.
Now, the other thing with the products that we're getting out there, and as we're starting to see them used in more sophisticated applications, is the cyber integrity of them. The drones we saw with Gatwick in the UK, the havoc that was caused by a drone flying into airspace. Hacking a drone or hacking any electronic device is one of the biggest concerns that there is in the security community. What are DJI doing to make sure that your products have got that sort of cyber safety built in?
Yeah, so we upgraded our command and control link to the OcuSync protocol. This is proprietary to us and has a higher level of encryption. And on some of our enterprise class drones, we also have AES-256 encryption on board for both the video link and for the command and control link.
Now, drones in particular can be a force for the good, or as I mentioned earlier, they can be used for not so good purposes. Where does the balance lie? And how's that going to say? How do we ensure that people just use them for the good?
That's a very good question, and as the leading manufacturer of consumer and commercial drones, we want to be engaged in these discussions. Ultimately, the drone operator has the responsibility to fly according to the laws and regulations of where he or she is operating under, and that's our expectation. But we want to help with the education component and give first-time drone users the opportunity through our app to get a knowledge test done. We've already implemented that in the UK, in Australia, and the United States to help these first-time drone operators to understand the local laws and regulations. And furthermore, we're enhancing the safety and security features of our platforms constantly. And we will be very soon implementing additional alert features to alert drone operators when they start operating beyond line of sight, so that they understand that they're doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. We have active altitude limitations implemented so that the operators can't go above certain altitudes. And we will continue to improve upon these features so our customers, hobbyists or commercial operators, know they can and what they can't do through our technology.
No, I know from my own drone, if I try to fly it too high or too far, it's very quick to tell me. Or try to launch it in a place where there are certain restrictions. Again, it's very good to tell me, and fantastic, useful bit of software. You've got a relationship with the European Emergency Number Association. Can you explain a little bit more about that and why you're there and how important that is?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So we partnered with ENA, the European Emergency Number Association, which is a non-governmental agency based in Brussels, to really bring new technologies into the public safety to help enable these different public safety agencies with newer technologies, make their jobs more safe, but ultimately help the people, keep them more safe. And we partnered with them about 3 years ago to better understand how are drones helping public safety. Through the ENA program, we built 4 pilot test sites in Europe, and we have the ability to go into those test sites and test new technologies from hardware to software solutions, but then also actively as a consortium work on better legislative approaches to drones and the integration into airspace, and also learn how these technologies really are impacting public safety. Just recently we did a research study in regards to search and rescue, and we wanted to compare how drones are helping search and rescue and compare it to the traditional method. And those data points are extremely helpful to further the improvements of software and hardware solutions.
Now, as you're furthering the improvement, we're seeing countries are recognizing what they're seeing as a threat and bring in greater regulation. But there seems to be a disparity in what is good regulation and what is oppressive regulation in different countries around the world. Is there a sort of gold standard? Is there something that, from a manufacturer's perspective, that you'd recommend that you think should be in and is a sensible regulation to apply?
Yeah, I mean, we put out a white paper recently, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, on elevating safety, and it contains core areas we think needs more attention. But most leading jurisdictions where the technology is being adopted have reasonable operational guidelines in place. Things like don't fly within a certain distance of airports, don't fly overhead, those sorts of basic operational guidelines that guarantee a modicum of safety. I think that the next areas that we advocate for and we would like to see more of are registration, so we have some sort of accountability built into the system. Education, which is not overly burdensome because we want compliance with the education system, so we want it to be easy and preferably no cost or low cost. And then I think the key part we would like to see even more happen with is remote identification. So if you think about the ability of a registration system where you have a database of serial numbers, identifying who owns that drone, and then if you have a remote identification system, you literally have the same sort of ability a police officer has when they pull over a car on the side of the road. They can look at that remote ID, that serial number they're getting from the receiving station, and know who should be operating that drone. And also they can live track and actually make, actually see whether people are busting altitude limits, flying beyond visual line of sight, and start to enforce the existing laws. So we think that's a key component.
Now, DJI are known for the drones, but you produce a number of other products that are out there in the market. Do you want to just give us and those that are watching a quick overview of the other things that they should be looking out for and trying to find?
Yeah, so DJI is not only an aerial company, but we're also a camera company, camera system company with stabilized gimbal systems for ground operations, handheld operations, and we have a variety of different products. From the consumer side with a small little handheld camera that stabilizes to more professional setups that we were seeing in Hollywood being utilized. So we have that component, and just very recently we've also introduced RoboMasters, which is a small car, educational car in essence that you build together and then you can code. Students can code and do certain tasks, and all these technologies are helping the next generation of engineers and scientists and explorers to build upon, and I'm super excited about this because we have a great opportunity to influence our next generation, and our technology is helping not only those students but the future workforce on doing their jobs better, more effective and safer.
Well, I have to admit to everyone that I'm a bit of a DJI fan myself with some of the stuff that I've got, but it's been a real pleasure getting to know more about what you're doing in Asia Pacific and what DJI is doing across the globe. But thank you very much indeed for giving your time up to come and speak to us at Interpol World Television.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Good to see you.
See you.